Hey, everybody, and welcome back to The Brief from Diagonal Media, your one-stop shop for creating content that moves the needle for your brand, your company, and your message. I'm Lillian Isabella, and today I'm chatting with Kerry Moynihan. So he's built a long career for himself in executive search. Kerry, thank you so much for joining us for The Brief. I am very excited to chat with you today. And I know that you've been working in executive search for 30 years now. So I would love to know a little more about that. Like, can you break it down for us? What exactly does that mean? What exactly does executive search and human capital consulting mean?
It's really about matching leadership with the companies. And I've been doing it for a long time. It's longer than 30 years, actually. And I remember the 1987 crash. And I'm a little unusual in the sense that most people in the business wind up concentrating on a particular industry vertical, like they do nothing but healthcare or they do nothing but entertainment. And I literally have worked with clients across 6 continents, not Antarctica, from software to sneakers and semiconductors. And it has been very rewarding because you're actually helping change organizations. Most of my work has been with funds that buy the companies, whether they're venture cap or leverage buyout funds, private equity as they're known now. But it's really about how do you create value for the shareholders. And it's in one sense, it's easy to do the financial diligence and check out, do we have the stuff in the warehouse that they say when we're buying it? And what I have seen over time is that more and more clients are focused not on those physical and financial metrics, but on the human capital metrics, because that's what leadership is, what matters. Leadership is what makes the difference. And it used to be, oh, we pour over the financials, and we have a bunch of young MBAs doing their thing. And then we have a couple of dinners with the CFO and the CEO of the company and say, oh, we like those guys. Let's write them a check for $100 million. I think there's an increasing realization that that is the difference. I mean, and it sounds so simple, but it took a while.
So you mentioned that like it's all about leadership. How would you describe leadership?
The best examples, I guess, let's focus on that rather than what's wrong. The best examples are where there is transparency and candor. You probably have read or know about so-called servant leader model, where it isn't, I'm not trying to be George Patton and say, take the hill, kill the enemy. It's how can I make you better? And actually listening. And how can I make you better? And how can I make the company better? My observation is that the companies and the people that practice, I'm going to sound very touchy-feely here, but that practice, how are we better people, you typically lead to better outcomes. I'll give you an example. A guy that I recruited to be CFO of a business, which was about $250 million at the time, about $92 million in EBITDA. He wound up becoming president of the largest division. He wound up becoming CEO of the whole business. He took it from $250 million to $340 million, from $92 million in EBITDA to $168 million in EBITDA. And when you walked around, he knew everybody's name. He would say, Lillian, how did your girl do in softball last Saturday? And he was not a natural extrovert. And while they were growing that business, 36% or so in revenue and 85% in earnings, they took down the employees, not the the number of employees, they made it more efficient by 30%. And I guess the big message there is culture, company culture, translates into margin. If you have people who like being there, feel like they're part of something bigger, they do more and you get more out of them. So it's a win-win. It's not, we're lashing, you asked about leadership. It's not we're lashing the troops on. It's the troops want to fight, the troops want to win, and you can win with fewer troops. So anyway, that's just a great example of it. And that was a company where I saw it in great detail, where it was about transparency and candor, where the people would get together, and it was, how should we say, naked meetings, staff meetings at the senior level of, I always knew you were difficult to deal with, or, they'd thrash it out a little bit, almost like family group therapy, but in a very positive way.
Yeah, so there's a lot of transparency and openness with communication. It sounds like also with care, like being able to, the person who's leading the company, knowing someone's name, it seems like a small thing, but in fact, it isn't. It shows that they're paying attention and they value you as a part of the team.
We all have goals beside a paycheck every other week, right? We want to feel valued. We want to be respected by our peers. And I think if you have leadership that understands that and respects the people that work there, and then they respect the mission of the company.
Sounds like leadership's definitely one of the ways that a company can set itself up for success. But what is a way that a company can do that, can set themselves up for success when they're looking to fill key positions, hire key people on the team or people on their corporate board?
Somebody asked the hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, how are you so goddamn good? and he said, I go where the puck is going to be, not where it was. And so if you say, all right, well, here's our strategic plan for 2 or 3 years out, what do we need to get there? And recruit accordingly, or develop your own people for what needs to be done 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to be more likely to be successful. When you're hiring at a senior level, it's not like jury selection. It's not that all 12 people have to agree, but you get people's input so they feel they have been part of the process. But somebody has to make a call at the end of the day. And you take their input and actually listen to it, and you'll have a better team. I did a project for a board public company, very well-known public company, and they had a great looking board on paper. They didn't cohere. And if you looked at the individual resumes, including a Nobel Prize winner in economics and some really impressive people, head of a movie studio, big movie studio, but they really weren't versed in the day-to-day business that the company was doing. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I sort of said, don't you want somebody who's kind of versed in what you do every day instead of a collection of great looking resumes? And so we really did a complete reset and kept some of the board members, but they were re-energized by having new people who brought intellectual diversity. Are you willing to ask the tough questions? Are you willing to disagree without being personally disagreeable? I think when companies get it wrong, that they hire a resume rather than a person.
That makes a lot of sense. You got to think of it as a team, as a cohesive whole that'll work towards a common goal.
I've said that boards are like families in some ways, and that sometimes they look perfect, but are dysfunctional. And sometimes the ones that don't look like they should be perfect get along great.
Having worked with so many different corporations, what's the most common mistake that you see leadership making, and what can they do to avoid that preemptively?
I heard Jack Welch, the former CEO, the late great former CEO of GE, speak. And I think he nailed it. It was a conference at the Waldorf Astoria, and he nailed it. And he said, you know, the mistake that he made, and this guy was probably the champion shareholder value creator of all time, said, when I needed to make a change, I waited too long. So if there's a problem, you address it. And you don't do people favors by not being candid with them of, here's what you're doing right, here's what you're doing wrong. You don't have to be obnoxious about it. And then, you know, by people want to succeed. They don't like to be in situations where they're not succeeding. So, you know, that's where most organizations have their single biggest issue is they don't address things up front and they don't correct staff issues.
Any like closing thought you have that I didn't bring out with a question? Anything that's on your mind that you want to share?
Sorry for all the military analogies, but the commanding general during Desert Storm, Norman Schwarzkopf, that said, he wrote a book, and I don't usually read these sorts of things, but said, the hard thing is not knowing the right thing to do. The hard thing is actually doing it. And that's, you know, that's where you get down to it. You usually know what the right thing to do is. And you just have the guts. You have to have the guts to actually do it. Strength of character and purpose, and be able to communicate that to an organization. Say, this is where we're going. And it's because we have real values. And it's because it's the right thing to do. Do what you say what you do.
That is a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining me for this chat. What are you going to do with the rest of your day? Where are you off to?
I am in beautiful downtown Nashville, Tennessee. And we are going to, I go hear some music in the streets as 300,000 people descend on the city of less than 750,000. So it's pretty big. And then we're getting the heck out of town.
Which festival is this? It's probably famous, and I'm just.
I didn't know about
obviously.
it. It's CMA, which I guess Country Music Association. So yeah, you got 60,000 people in the football stadium. You know, which is 6 blocks from here, and you know, just the streets are full of people listening to music and eating tacos and drinking beer. So it's a beautiful day. So
that sounds like an incredible day. I will not hold you any longer. Thank you, Kerry.
Good to talk with you. Take care.